Welcome to Miss Martin Muses. Welcome to Miss Martin Muses, where we muse upon what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. Sorry about the late start. My computer was not cooperating. But it now is. It now is. And we are here today with Steve Kenobi.
Hi.
Hello. We are here to discuss Christmas movies. My usual co host, Maury, is not available today. They had some things come up with their home improvement that made it impossible. But we are here to talk about some very manly Christmas movies. Sometimes there's a bit of a debate about whether they are Christmas movies, and we will be going into that just a little bit. But I want to start with the ultimate Christmas movie and the one that the director himself has definitively said is a Christmas movie. And therefore, in my humble opinion, that makes it so. And it is none other than the amazing movie Die Hard.
Yeah. I actually was on the camp that said it's not really a Christmas movie because I failed to see the Christmas message. So I had some debates about that on some movie streams I was on. But after I saw the interview with the director saying yes, it is indeed intended to be a Christmas movie, then I stand corrected.
Mm-hmm.
If the director says so, then it is so.
Yeah.
It's an awesome movie, no matter what it is, though.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's only fair. That's only fair. Sometimes when debates will come up and they'll be like saying something.
Yeah, but I got it wrong. Simple as that. It happens.
It happens. It happens every now and then. Happens once in every decade, and you were cool with admitting it, and no shame in that.
Yeah, I had no problems with that. I mean, everyone's been wrong in their life a couple of times.
Yeah, it happens. It happens to the best of us. But indeed, this movie, it came out in 1988, I believe, if I'm correct. And it is starring Bruce Willis,
who was not the first choice. I believe he was the third choice.
Oh.
The first choice was Burt Reynolds, and he said no to it. He didn't have any faith in it, which was a bad move. And Michael Biehn, I think, was another choice. Bruce Willis was a bit down the line because he was at the time just a TV actor, right? He was doing Moonlighting.
Mm-hmm. Great show. So it was a bit of a risk coming up with it, but since it did turn out so well, it turned him into a superstar. Now, Shane Nolan talks about one of the co-stars who was the amazing Alan Rickman. I met Alan Rickman once, very nice man, rest in peace. Amen to all of that. I really liked Alan Rickman in this. Actually, frankly, I liked Alan Rickman in anything. I think he was a very great actor, a very sexy man in not necessarily the conventional way. And he was a fantastic villain.
I think Die Hard was his first Hollywood movie.
Very possible, because he was probably doing a bunch of British art house Shakespearean things.
Yeah.
But it definitely put him into the mainstream. And then also...
correct. I stand corrected, kind of. This was his first cinema role.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep.
Wow.
Followed by Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yeah. And then he almost got stereotyped into the bad guy.
Yeah. It looks like one. It sounds like one.
Mm-hmm. They were only really able to break that in Sense and Sensibility, where he did play the romantic hero. And I know some people had trouble accepting that. I, however, was not one of them. Okay,
so... Naked Fame in the chat says Galaxy Quest as well.
Ah,
That
yes, indeed.
he is superb in that one. He really is, and it's a fun
Hmm.
movie too.
I did 5 curtain calls with as King Lear when he was sitting there at the convention.
Oh, fun story. I mentioned yesterday on that fantasy movie stream. I mentioned Last Action Hero,
Hmm.
and Charles Dance played the villain, right?
Uh-huh.
He was not the first choice. It was Alan Rickman, and he was Charles Dance's friend because stage acting and all. And
Yes.
they couldn't get Rickman because they couldn't afford him. And
Mm.
during the shoot of Last Action Hero, Charles Dance would walk around wearing a shirt that said "I am cheaper than Alan Rickman" on it.
Yes. Yeah, it's amazing. And welcome to those in the chat, Zach's Naked Fame and Shane Nolan, all the way from the Emerald Isle and the Jack of all casuals. He said Europeans always place a bad guy when a movie is set in the US.
Quite often,
In
yeah.
yes, more specifically, it's usually a Brit. And if they are
Especially back then, you know.
yes, they were either Russian or they had a British accent.
Yep. Or they were from Arab countries.
Ah, that that too. Yes, indeed. Well, let's talk a little bit about the plot of Die Hard. It is set during a Christmas party in a high rise.
Yeah,
And
Nakatomi Plaza.
yeah. You know this movie much better than I do. And the character Bruce Willis plays, he has to kind of single-handedly save the day. And it's pretty amazing how he's able to outwit these terrorists. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, where were these terrorists supposed to be from? These dudes.
Well, they weren't really terrorists. They were actually bank robbers
Oh, okay.
because that was their goal, right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I stand corrected. I stand corrected. Yes. And one of
Well,
the
they were German.
oh, that's
Gruber
true.
is a Hans Gruber is a German name.
That is true. I should have added they are either also Nazis as well.
Well,
And
they weren't Nazis. They were just German.
oh no, I'm mea culpa. I meant that villains were Nazis, and they tended to be Nazis in these. But
Yeah, they could not see that coming.
uh-huh. Well, I'm just looking at one of the summaries. They do say it's a terrorist plot, but oh well.
It is, but they're basically using the terrorism to hide a bank robbery
Understood.
because they're after the what's in the vault and the
Oh, yes, indeed. Okay. It's also a family movie because Bruce Willis's character John McClane, he is estranged from his wife, and she becomes one of the actual hostages.
yeah, and so is her sleazy co-worker who is sucking up to everyone. Never a good look, is it?
No. No.
And yes, Naked Fame, I probably did do the same joke last night.
Yes. So, and at the very end, it says in the summary, a weary and battered McLean finds Holly with Gruber and his remaining henchmen. McLean surrenders to Gruber and is about to be shot, but grabs his concealed service pistol taped to his back and uses his last 2 bullets on Gruber. That's just so awesome. Gruber crashes through a window, but grabs onto his wristwatch, and McLean unclasps the watch. I mean, how cool is that?
He should have said "Time's up."
Yes, that would have been amazing. Oh my gosh.
Well, it's John McClane though the way he solves the problem. He's thinking on his feet all through the movie,
Mm-hmm.
which is a little bit how Indiana Jones does it too. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Indiana Jones tends to fight when he has to because everything turns to shit.
Yeah.
But his main strength is, he solves problems. He's intelligent, which is a little bit what John McClane does too. He's very good at lethal improv.
Yes. And that's part of what makes him a force to be reckoned with as it continues. Now, as far as this being considered a Christmas movie and all the arguments for this, wh- why do people consider this a Christmas movie, Stig?
Because the plot would only work during Christmas because of the Christmas party.
Because of the Christmas party?
Yeah, and
Yeah, because usually they don't. Yeah.
there's Christmassy things all around. Christmas music.
Yeah. And the theme of I'll be home for Christmas takes on almost a symbolic thing because he's trying to reconcile with his wife and redeem his marriage, if you will. And at the end, well, I think that they still have some work to do, but as we know that they are able to go ahead and reconcile with themselves.
Yeah, to a point, I guess. There's the sequel as well, which also takes place during Christmas at an airport. I don't know if you've seen the sequel.
Yes, I have. Yes. And
I
there's a very funny line where the wife says at the end, "Why does this keep happening to us?"
Yeah, and you have the same sleazeball from Ghostbusters playing another sleazeball.
Uh-huh.
Dickless.
Oh, oh yes. You're right. Yes, this man has no dick.
The I saw an interview with him, and the guy is a great actor. He really is. But due to Ghostbusters, people still yell "Dickless" at him when they see him in the street. 40 years
Oh.
later, and
Oh,
he
no.
he was fed up with it too.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, probably. He's the fact that he's known for that one line. Well, I think it depends on the actor. Maybe some people would think that that would be amusing, but that's also a little bit rude.
40 years is excessive, isn't it? It's like the
Yeah,
joke has run its course a little bit.
yeah, exactly. And for crying out loud, grow up, people. Sometimes you just need to be. Though the Jack of all casuals makes a good point. Hey, if I can be remembered after 40 years, I'll be honored.
Yeah,
True.
but you think you will, if you're an actor, you would hope it was for a lot of great acting rather than someone in the movie called you Dickless 40 years ago.
Hmm.
You know,
Oh yes.
that's actually something that it's almost Galaxy Quest ish. They're just known for that one shit show they were in, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and I'm looking at some of the things that they say about the reception of this movie that is considered one of the greatest action films and is often named one of the best Christmas films. It revitalized the action genre largely due to its depiction of McClane as a vulnerable and fallible protagonist. I'm not sure I agree
I
with
would
that.
disagree with that because Lethal Weapon uh, came out before, and that certainly had a fallible main characters, especially Mel Gibson's character. He was suicidal,
Yeah.
which we will get to later.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not even sure the action film needed to be revitalized. I mean, the 80s,
Yeah,
holy
yeah,
crap.
not in 1988, was it? Uh,
Yeah.
no, that was the heyday. I don't think
Yeah.
it needed to be revitalized at that point, but
Stupid critics.
it sure as hell needs to be now.
Oh, hell to the yes. Yeah.
I mean, John Wick is pretty much the only the only bright light on the Christmas tree.
Ah, well done and well said. Yes. Yes, indeed. Now, this received 4 Academy Award nominations. I'm assuming it would be for technical things. And they're also saying that some people have thought of him as a Christ-like figure. Okay, like that he had to go through the pain to redeem himself for his past sins.
Stepping on the glass and all that.
Exactly. Yeah.
I did not pick up on that, to be honest, but could be there's some symbolism in there.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? I think that they might have been reaching out their butt cracks for that one. Okay, it was nominated for Best Visual Effects, Best Sound Mixing, Best Film Editing, and Best Sound Editing. Certainly, I can see that. It did not win any of them, though. The bastards. So, the Jack of all casual said, well, Die Hard was a normal person taking out bad guys instead of the usual giant muscle lead they were known for. Okay, I can see that. He was a cop. He wasn't like Conan the Barbarian or Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, I can see that.
Same director as Last Action Hero, actually, which is probably why he wanted Rickman to be the villain.
Yes.
The director also did Predator and The Hunt for Red October.
Oh, well, there you are. You've definitely heard that here first. Well, and people like Alan Rickman also, when they're known to be good to work for, talented, brilliant, and not a pain in the ass, yeah, people will want to be having them for absolute certain. Yes. So it says Shane says the cinematographer went on to make Speed with Keanu Reeves. Oh yes, we love that. And yes, thank you, Jack of all casuals. Kick, if you're here, if you could mind that for me, please. So if we were to look at Lethal Weapon, if you were my gosh, what is it? If you were to give a score out of 10 to Die Hard, what would you give it?
Rock solid 8.
Oh,
8 out of 10.
Interesting. I would have thought yours would be higher. Can you say why it was at an 8 instead of a 9 or a 10?
No.
Oh.
I just think it's I think it's an 8. I'm not a massive Bruce Willis fan, actually, but it's yeah.
Okay, that's fair enough. I would give it around a 7 or an 8. It is not one that I have rewatched a lot, so I think I would have difficulty being fair or objective toward it. When the movie came out, I was a big Bruce Willis fan because I adored him in Moonlighting. He was very, very funny.
I vaguely remember that show, but it was I remember liking it.
Yeah. It was a funny show, and it was romantic, and it was what propelled him to stardom, while Die Hard propelled Bruce Willis to superstardom. He won some Emmys, and he won some enemies, and all of that. Okay, well, that is Die Hard. Now we decided to go with in our timeline here. Our next movie to review is the one, the only, the incomparable. Spoiler alert, I think you know what my score is going to be on this one. It is Lethal Weapon.
Well, if there's 4 of them, it's not the only one, is it? Anyway, constructive criticism.
Lethal Weapon. I'm gonna turn over the floor a little bit to you, Steve, to just tell us about Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapon's a 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Performs as advertised. Superb chemistry between the two leads, played by Mel Gibson and Danny Glover.
Mm-hmm.
The only Lethal Weapon not to feature Joe Pesci. Actually, he shows up in the second one. But excellent action movie plot. Both characters are pretty fleshed out compared to other action movies, I'd say. And you get to see Murtaugh's family life all through the series, really, which is good for a lot of laughs, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. Shane Nolan, Jingle Bell, Jingle Bell, Jingle Bell Rock. Yes, indeed. And the writing is fantastic. Yes. I had a chance to rewatch this very recently on the airplane, and oh my gosh, it just holds up every single time you watch it. And I remember being incredibly surprised the first time I saw it way back when, that the funny guy, the Mel Gibson character, starts off wanting to shoot himself in the head, and he's crying and over his dead wife, and you're like, oh my gosh, what the hell? I mean, it was an amazing performance, and it went on very long. His scene where he's attempting to kill himself, it sets up who his character is and just how incredibly sad his character is. And he decides not to, and he tells the picture of his wife, I'll see you later, much later. Oh my gosh, that's really just so sad.
Yeah, great villains too, though. Gary Busey playing the main henchman.
Yes.
Busey was pretty huge in the 80s. Didn't he win an Oscar for playing, what was it, Buddy Holly?
Could be. I don't know off the top of my head, but he is an amazing actor for sure. Everyone was amazing in this, and let's see, and this was directed by Richard Donner again. Oh my gosh, that legend! That man couldn't do anything wrong. And the description is describing as a pair of mismatched LAPD.
Very mismatched.
Yes, but they become the most amazing pair. And when he meets him for the first time,
yeah. Also, the movie was written by Shane Black, who is one of the soldiers in The Predator. He was writing the script for Lethal Weapon, I believe, during the shooting of Predator. Or it was Die Hard 2 or something. I think it was Lethal Weapon. Yeah, it was definitely Lethal Weapon.
Yes. Some people were saying Jack of all casuals, the score is awesome. Yes. And Shane said, and some others have been saying, and I'm too old for this. And Sentinel, the older I get, the more I say it. When I first saw the movie, I laughed at the line. Now I'm like, yep, I get it. I think we all use it. Yeah. Okay. He said supporting actor, I believe, for Shane Nolan, not Shane Nolan, but the actor rather. And didn't Richard Donner direct Lady Hawk 2? Yes, he did. Oh, yes, you're welcome. Thank you, Sentinel, for being my Sentinel. Shane Black did an Iron Man, an Iron movie 3, I believe. Oh, quite possibly. Yeah.
Oh, but, trivia. Bruce Willis was considered for Riggs.
Really?
And they made a little joke about that in it's a movie called Loaded Weapon, which is a Lethal Weapon spoof with Samuel Jackson and Emilio Estevez. And they have a joke in there where the villains attack the wrong home. You know, they attack a little, trailer thing at the beach, and Bruce Willis steps out. So that's
Oh,
what
that's
happened.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and what I love about their first meeting is Glover's Murtaugh. He's got his eye on Riggs because he's thinking it's someone that they've just brought in to the office, and he just seems so casual, and he kind of reaches and he has a gun, and he's like yells gun, and goes to tackle him. And of course, Mel Gibson, his eyes just get like real big the way they did the shot. It was funny, but it was also crazy, and he knocks him over, and they're like, well, meet your new partner. And that's when he says for the first time, I'm getting too old for this shit. I'm sitting there in the airplane laughing like a lunatic. I've seen that scene a million times, but I just love it. And then it goes into the scene where Mel Gibson is talking down that dude from killing himself. And instead, he
Oh,
kind of
it doesn't really.
well, okay. He's supposed to be, and and then he goes like to light a cigarette. It's like, what a cigarette? And then the guy's taking it. He puts the handcuffs on him, and then he gets those batshit crazy eyes, and the guy's like, "You're crazy." It's like, "Yes, I am. Let's go. Let's jump." And he's like, "No, no." And he makes a suicidal dude jump off the building with him.
Yeah, which probably the angriest you'll ever see Danny Glover in all movies.
Yes.
He's not happy with that.
No. He wasn't laughing. But I was, because then the dude's like, help, help. He's calling for the police to save him. He's like, this is crazy. It's like, dude, a second ago you were wanting to jump off and kill yourself. And you are correct. He was ready to kill him. He was so friggin' mad. And frankly, I would have been too if it was real life. But since it wasn't real life, it was hysterical. But the way that they're developing the conflict between the two characters.
Yeah, well, they're polar opposites, basically. Danny Glover wants to have basically a clean working record because he's worried about his pension and his family and what have you. He's actually very conservative too, extremely so, to be honest. Especially when it comes to his daughter.
Yeah.
And well, Mel Gibson is just, he doesn't give a damn.
No.
He has issues.
Yeah.
Which that's also a thing that goes through the whole series. It's Mel Gibson's character has to see the shrink, right? All the time, and they're just mocking the lady.
Yeah, and she hates his guts.
Oh, just wait till you see the third one.
Yeah, I have.
She wants to talk to Murtaugh a bit.
Oh no. Okay, the Sentinel says, after watching Lethal Weapon recently, I realized why so many people fan casted Mel as Wolverine, and he was a fan favorite for many years. Even concept art with him as Wolverine was made.
Yeah, I remember people saying Hugh Jackman was too tall.
True.
Which is, fair. Wolverine isn't a tall fellow. But after what Jackman did, though, for almost 20 years, really, I couldn't see anyone else play him.
Oh, no. Yeah, he made the role his own. That also shows that sometimes, even if an actor maybe doesn't look the part, if they have the craft and the skill, they can. Shane Nolan points out the shrink was in Die Hard as a news anchor. Oh.
Yeah, and the guy, when they burn Mr. Joshua's hand with a lighter to show how badass he is?
Yes.
The guy who's there to basically buy drugs, that's the villain from Red Heat, which is a Schwarzenegger action movie.
Oh.
Ed O. Ross, I believe his name is.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. And Shane Nolan says, funny how the dancer, the daughter fancies me. I died laughing when the family of Murtaugh, who, by the way, is a genuine family. You could feel the warmth and the love that they have for their children and that he has for his wife, that Murtaugh has for his wife, but also just so realistic. This hot guy comes in and the teenage daughter is like, and Murtaugh's kind of looking, and then the two kids start making fun of her at the dinner table and say, "I'm in love," and they do this little rap. Very genuine family scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. And they keep doing that in all the movies as well. Also fun how every time Murtaugh tries to, get some stuff for his family or whatever it is, or for himself, it ends up being destroyed. Because that boat doesn't make it through Lethal Weapon 4.
No.
And his wife's car gets it in the second one, including his bathroom.
Yes.
And his house gets trashed in this one.
Yes. Yeah. I love it. I just absolutely love it. We knew that they were all going to become friends at the end, et cetera, even though they hate each other so much. Or I should say Murtaugh seems like he hates him. But on the other hand, he brings him home to his family. Maybe it's more annoyance. I don't know. I could
Well,
analyze it forever.
he does it after Mel Gibson saves his life, though. And
That's true.
the guy pulls a gun on him. Yeah, it's. I don't think this movie could have been done better, and the sequel is pretty damn good too.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of a dip in 3 and 4, but it's they're still great. So I don't know. It might be one of the few franchises that has not had a bad entry, or
Yeah. Well, when you can say that after 4 movies, the last 2 maybe dipped a little bit, but obviously weren't bad, or that definitely says something. But along to where Mel Gibson saved his life, the Murtaugh's character kept saying, "You don't have to kill him. You can just like shoot him in the leg or stop him." And in that moment, Murtaugh had stopped him, quote unquote, was even like, "See, you don't have to kill him." And then the dude pulls a gun, and and of course they have to kill him because it's like, yeah, Murtaugh, maybe, bad guys are bad guys.
yeah. And the guy whose daughter commits suicide
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning, that's Tom Atkins, who is kind of like a cult favorite actor in a sense. He was in The Fog and in the infamous Halloween 3, which has not a damn thing to do with the rest of the series at all whatsoever. Good actor, but tends to be in he tends to be in stuff that gets like a cult following, even though it's bad,
Yeah. Well, we endorse those kind of movies here at Miss Martin
Oh
Muses.
yeah.
Yes. Jack of all casual says, Murtaugh, God hates me for pairing me up with you. Riggs, well, hate him back. It works for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am saying this as a woman that believes in God. I can relate to that, to both of those. It's a love-hate relationship. Lots of talk about the cell phone. The Break My Dad had the same ones. Yes, yes. Oh, and welcome, Cherie, the lovely Cherie. Thank you for being here. Welcome to Martin Muses. 5 more days to OTP Halloween. Jack of all casual says Atkins was king in the 80s for horror movies. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, he turned up in quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him in I think it was called Drive Angry, which is a newer it's a movie with Nicolas Cage and Amber Heard actually.
Hmm.
Tom Atkins plays a sheriff, and he's put up a roadblock for Nicolas Cage, and he's telling Nicolas Cage to yeah, stop and come out of the car with your hands up, and we won't shoot. And then he turns to the deputies and says, "When I tell him to, when he gets out of the car and I tell him to raise his hands, that means shoot."
Oh my
It's like
gosh.
really corrupt, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. And to bring the whole thing full circle about let's not kill him, you don't have to kill him. That Riggs actually tries to take the bad guy into custody, but then he goes and grabs a policeman's gun, and so they end up having to kill him again. And I'm not saying that's a funny thing. I don't know what the word would be for in a screenplay when those things happen, but just bringing something as a running theme and bringing it full circle, and then they all have to shoot together. I thought that was pretty
Yeah, it's like
awesome.
a teamwork.
Exactly, and then by that point
And then he
that
goes, "Get that shit off my lawn."
yeah, exactly. Yeah, if Stieg were a cop, that's what it would be. And we know that they bonded. Again, an incredibly crafted relationship. Also, the way that the movie ends, which makes this the perfect Christmas movie. Not only was the theme music all throughout, we knew Christmas was coming, but Riggs goes to visit his wife, grave.
Yeah, it's like coming home for Christmas in a sense, but it's Mel Gibson saves Murtaugh's life, but in a sense, Murtaugh and his family kind of saves Mel Gibson's character too by actually
Yes,
starting to take care of him.
precisely. And maybe giving him the shift that he needs to move on at the
Yeah,
Christmas Day dinner. He gives him the bullet he had been
yeah,
saving. Yeah, that he
because Murtaugh and his family gave Mel Gibson's character something to care about again.
yeah,
So
and made
that
him
that's what I took from it, which is it's a little bit of a Christmas message right there, isn't it?
yes, absolutely, and perhaps maybe a little bit of It's a Wonderful Life vibes in that it started with someone wanting to kill himself and ends with life is worth living. I also took that as a theme, which is also, if you will, a Christmas message, that at the end of the day, maybe there's always hope, and that you can find hope in the most unexpected places.
Yeah, and Lethal Weapon 5 is happening. Mel Gibson's directing. Who
Yeah.
he's the only one who could, in my opinion, after Richard Donner passed away, and
Yes.
apparently Mel Gibson had his blessing to do so as well.
Yes. And that's the reason I'm excited for it. Not only is it the original characters, but an actor's rather, but that at Mel Gibson's helm, it's safe.
Yeah, I hope so. There's always a chance they might screw up, but I don't think they will.
No.
Because that cast is so tightly knitted. But Danny Glover in particular has to be too old for this shit at this point because he's in his 70s.
Exactly.
But I don't care as long as he can hold a gun and point it at the bad guys. I'm happy with it. You
Yes.
know,
Well, both of them will have been in mandatory retirement. There's a certain age you reach where you have to retire as an
yeah.
active cop.
I guess maybe Murtaugh has become chief of police or something. And well, from what I saw though, the premise was that they're on a vacation, driving a caravan thingy,
Yeah.
and they forget to put on the brakes or something, and it rolls down a hill and smashes into a building which is full of someone making drugs or something. So they see it because the wall is crashed, and they get into deep shit.
Huh? Well, that's the perfect scenario. I didn't know that. I haven't gotten into much details. I did do a brief video about the announcement, but that's all I really delved into it. You did mention about how they are a tightly knit cast. That includes the family and the children. The children grew up with this
Yeah,
movie.
and Joe Pesci as well, and later Rene Russo,
Mm-hmm.
who shows up in the third one.
Yeah. What I'm hoping to see in the next movie is to see that the family, the children, because they're old enough to be married and have children of their own. And I think
Oh yeah,
that would be great. Yeah. So very, very hopeful about that. Any final thoughts about Lethal Weapon, Steak?
no, incredibly rewatchable, the same as the rest of the series.
Mm-hmm.
Perfectly cast. Probably the best chemistry between two actors I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
With Danny Glover and Mel Gibson, you can tell that they get along.
Oh,
You know, and
yes.
yeah, flawless movie. Performs as advertised.
Yeah. And as you said already, that you give this a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I agree. It's a 10 out of 10. Not only is it rewatchable, but it's the kind of movie that when I'm sitting there on an airplane, have about 2 hours, and I see that it's available, my first thought was, okay, I'll pop it on. And I was enthralled the entire 2 hours, even though I've seen it 200 million thousand times. It was just, I couldn't look away. It's just so much fun. And moving and all of that. But may I just say, if you are watching it on an airplane, I assumed it was going to be edited, if you know what I mean. Holy crap, thank goodness in my section there were not any children, because I was like, because they kept the nudity. Usually on airplane things, they'll edit that out of the lady at the beginning. So I quickly searched, because you don't know if there's going to be a kid. So, but besides that, perfect for an airplane. Said Danny Glover's daughter had a baby in the last one. Chris Rock was the father. Oh,
correct.
Okay, I haven't seen the fourth one, so my maxima culpa.
Well, do you have something to watch then?
I do. Oh, holy crap, do I have a lot to watch? Yes, I did buy the Ultimate Collection on DVD, partly because I had borrowed the first one to rewatch a little while back, and I broke the DVD. So,
How the hell do you break a DVD?
talent on loan from God. I dropped it on the floor, and I don't know how I did. It just broke. So in any case, it belonged to my brother-in-law, so I replaced it in the case, because that's just what you got to do. But I got the rest of them all. So 2, 3, and 4 on Blu-ray now. And I hope he doesn't look in. No, never mind. He's not listening. It won't find out. But, I replaced it, so it's all okay. Jack of all casual says, you have to watch all 4 before 5 comes out. I agree. Everything you've just said has convinced me. Some people are talking about Fat Man. It's like, yes, Fat Man was good. From what I hear, I should say. I have not watched it. Wonder if Chris Rock would be in it. That would be cool. Could happen to a bishop. Oh no, Shane. Yeah, we've got too many weird stuff going on right now, don't we? Okay. It could very much, especially though nowadays, because we've got geeks in the clergy now, thank God. Well, that is Mel Gibson. I'm sorry, rather, that is Lethal Weapon. Now we are moving on to our final one, which has a little bit of some new things to discuss, because there was a director's cut. It is the one, the only Rocky 4.
Well, it's one of two if you count the director's cut.
That's true. If you
So it's not the one and only, is it?
Yes, so I liked the director's cut so much, I'm willing to say that is the one and the only.
Yeah, the director's cut it removed some scenes and added some others. So it's I don't think it's longer than the original one, which is unusual for a director's cut.
Yeah.
But worth it if you want to see it from a different angle,
Hmm.
I guess.
Yeah.
You get a
Yes.
lot more Apollo and Rocky at the beginning.
Yes, and some of the other scenes were cut because they were a little bit superfluous, and I didn't even know how many of them were until, or superfluous not the right word. They didn't go along with the theme. And the theme of this movie, it is a Christmas movie because the big thing happens on Christmas Day. Though it might be a bit more of a stretch on this to call it a Christmas movie. But oh my gosh, Apollo, as you said, this movie, the premise being that there's some Soviet dude that they're trotting around, and Apollo decides to challenge him to an exhibitionist fight. And as we all know, he ends up getting killed in this fight, and Rocky challenges him to a match to avenge his
Yeah.
friend's death.
Yeah. Um, some trivia about it though. It was released on Thanksgiving weekend. Um, it was shown in 1,325 screens, and it grossed. It set a non-summer record
Oh,
for 31 million, almost 32 millions, and spent 6 weeks as the number one movie,
hmm,
staying on top through Christmas and the New Year's period, which is incredible, really.
yes,
And it grossed a total of 127 million point, yeah, almost 128 million in the United States and Canada, 300 million worldwide, which is a huge number back then.
yes.
And it was the highest grossing sports movie of all time until a movie called Blindside in 2009, which grossed 9 more million.
Yep.
That is without accounting for inflation, though.
Yep.
But a massive hit, huge hit.
Yes. I didn't look into that too much. So I didn't realize how commercially successful Rocky
Yeah.
4 was
Oh,
until you
and
brought this up.
fun fact: it only has a 44% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics, which proves again the critics are idiots.
Yeah, they're shit. They don't get it.
But if you think about it, though, this this movie was one of the biggest hits of 1985.
Yeah.
What happened to people since then? If you look at what's considered good these days,
Yeah.
there's like, where did the testosterone go?
It got sucked away for sure. Well, Rocky 2 had that great line when Rocky says to Adrian, "I've never asked you to stop being a woman. Don't Please don't ask me to stop being a man." And we see this. We still see that conflict because Adrian wasn't able to bring herself to go over to the Soviet Union with Rocky at first. And you can completely understand that. I mean, she really genuinely thought he was gonna be killed. And
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, I was gonna say Keck, Keck 44. Do you want to answer that, Stieg?
yep. He's sweet Drago. He almost killed Rocky during the shooting of the movie.
Oh, really?
Uh, yeah, because Stallone told him to actually punch because you have to, because you need to see the impacts on the screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Stallone took punches, and Dolph Lundgren is a black belt karate champion, I believe, and he's huge. He can deliver a punch, and he had punched Stallone in the chest somewhere, and it caused Stallone's heart to swell up. and he got taken to the hospital immediately, which scared the hell out of Lundgren because it was his first major acting gig, and there was a risk that he had killed Stallone. You know, so that was
Yeah,
yep,
it was probably very scary on so many different levels. It's like, yay, I committed
yeah,
involuntary. Well, it wouldn't have been
yeah,
involuntary manslaughter. It
yeah.
would have.
Imagine getting your first acting gig and then you kill the guy who plays Rocky and Rambo.
Yeah, I was gonna say
You
you've
know,
killed an icon, and I think it is correct. Sentinel says this is still the highest grossing Rocky movie. I think it was. Maybe not one of the best ones, but definitely I think it did make the most money. Sentinel, what is it with these Swedes? They are all brilliant chemists by
no.
day, entertainer.
Look at Greta Thunberg. There's nothing brilliant about her. Dolph
Oh,
Dolph Lundgren is an exception to the rule. Yeah, Bridget Nielsen, who you also see as the support, the main lady in the movie Cobra,
mhm.
which came out, I think maybe in the same year. Was married to Stallone. She was also the lead in Red Sonja, where she acted really, really terribly. She can't act.
Yeah,
Um,
she's very pretty, but yeah,
that's about it.
yeah. Shane Nolan says,
I'm sure she's nice.
"Oh,
She's Danish actually. So the Drago couple was a Dane and a Swede.
yay, Scandinavia forever." Shane Nolan says the James Brown singing scene in Vegas with "Living in America." Amazing, by the way, amazing song, very iconic Americana. James Brown was in prison on drug offenses, but was paroled for a day to appear in the movie.
Did not know that.
I did
That's
not.
that's pretty cool.
I know. Gotta love America. Oh, Cobra is a Christmas movie too, says Sentinel. Oh, well, you would
Is
be
it?
best.
Yeah, it probably is, isn't it? Because there's
Oh,
Christmas stuff at the store and all that at the beginning.
yeah.
But that
Well,
that's about it when it comes to Christmas, though.
yeah.
In that one, worth a watch if you haven't seen it. It's toxic as hell.
I know. That was a movie that you told me to watch on the airplane, and since I didn't have it, I watched Lethal Weapon.
They didn't have Cobra on the airplane. What kind of a shit, you know, company is
Airline.
that?
I don't know. Well, and you know what? They got rid of the classical music channel too, so they suck. Um, but wow, I forgot how perfectly chiseled every inch of that man's body was. Drago's rather. Holy crap, was he a beast?
Yeah, I played He-Man shortly after
Hmm.
Masters of the Universe.
Yes. Jack of all casuals, crime is a disease, and I'm the cure.
Yep, that's what it says. That's
Yes.
even the catchphrase on the DVD cover.
Yeah. Well, the scene when he fights Apollo, it was horrible to watch again when I was
They
watching it
they
again now.
added to it. It was way more brutal in the director's cut.
Yeah. Okay.
Drago
Because
was an animal in the director's
yeah,
cut.
yeah, it almost took me out of the movie because I was like, everyone would have stopped that fight.
Yeah,
It was really clear almost from the very beginning when he started to stumble and you could see he was being dazed. It's like everyone would have stopped it. The referees would have stopped it. The Rocky would have stopped it. Everyone would have.
yeah, and the director's cut shines a little light on the fact that the fight wouldn't have happened without Rocky's approval because he had to help make it happen. You
Yeah.
know, he was using his contacts and whatever to help Apollo get that fight, and Rocky knew it wasn't going to be it wasn't going to end well because Adrian even tried to warn him, right?
Hmm.
So Rocky, it's not necessarily just that he wants revenge on Drago in this movie. He also kind of wants a little bit of redemption,
Yeah. Because he
you
feels
know?
responsible.
Yeah, and he kind of was responsible to a point.
Yeah. But you can forgive them a little bit because it was an exhibition fight.
Yeah,
It wasn't supposed to be like that. And even the Duke, the Apollo's trainer and friend, started yelling at Lovgren, and he was like, "This is an exhibition fight. What's wrong with you?" You know.
yeah. And a cool thing that they kept Duke for the sixth movie, Rocky Balboa.
Mm-hmm.
He shows up and helps train Rocky in it.
Yeah. He also shows up in the Creed movies.
Yes.
The second one. Yeah. I love the Creed movies, and I think that it ties in very well with, of course, what we saw in Creed 2. But you also feel how Rocky he was about ready to throw in the towel, and he just kind of, I couldn't tell, was he throwing in the towel as Apollo fell, or did he just drop it because he was about ready to throw in the towel? But no matter what, you got the feeling that he threw in the towel far too late.
Which is a terrific, no pun intended, throwback in the second Creed movie when Apollo's kid is downright killing Drago's son,
Yeah.
and Drago throws in the towel to save his son.
Yes.
I thought that was perfect. That was a perfect ending to that movie.
Yeah, I adored.
It shows that Drago's human too. He cares about his son.
Yeah. Well, and he's changed since it all happened because it didn't go well for him after he lost. This
Oh,
was the Soviet Union.
they sent him to Siberia.
Yep.
Which
And his
tended
wife
to happen back then.
Exactly, and his wife divorced him.
Yeah.
It was really cool. Am I right, Steve? Though, was Rocky throwing in the towel as Apollo fell, or was he about to?
In the original version, he's kind of stunned and kind of hesitates, and then he kind of throws it in too late.
Okay.
I guess. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong about that, though. Everyone in the chat.
Yeah. But either way, it was just heartbreaking because the message got across that it was too late. It was too late.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And as Jack of All Casual says, it comes full circle from Rocky IV to Creed 2. Absolutely. Absolutely, it does. Shane, yes, I love the score for the Rocky movies, especially the first. It was genius. Absolute genius. The man, Bill Conti, wrote a friggin' fugue that he used in that, for crying out loud.
That fight music, when it always starts with like a ding ding when Rocky starts to fight back in every movie almost.
Yep.
And then you get that, it's just like a march, which I always thought was a little bit in the same alley as the Indiana Jones music. The Indiana Jones music is more upbeat though.
Yes.
But usually it it starts playing when he starts kicking ass, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, the first one, that the track is called Going the Distance, because that music that came out, for the way they used it in Rocky 1, was when Rocky knocks out Apollo Creed, and Apollo just kind of gets up and is like, what the fuck? And then they start talking each other, and then it goes ding ding, because the fight is on. And then they show the ladies with the little numbers, and they do this in Rocky 4, though the technology's gotten better. It's all digital. Okay, Jack of All Casual says, I remember the same thing. He stops sync and throws too late. Oh, okay. It's called, oh, God. There we go, St. Nolan. I did not see that comment. But yes, it was a crime that Bill Conti did not win the Oscar for Rocky for the score, and I believe that is why he won the Oscar for the score to The Right Stuff, which is a good score, but not even close. But they gave it to him for The Right Stuff because I think everyone knew this dude needed an Oscar. And the Rocky theme orchestral version during the credits is magic. Absolutely, it is. Keck44 says, I haven't seen the Creed movies. Oh my gosh. If you are a Rocky fan and if you love Apollo, watch watch both of them. The first one, of course, is more about Creed the son and how he and Rocky get together, and then there's a theme in Rocky 2 of fathers and sons, both with new Creed, Rocky and his son, and of course Drago and his son. Amazing movies, both of them. I was shocked how good they were. Uh, that's all I got to say about that. And then when we move on to when they get to the Soviet Union, when Rocky is doing his training, like like he makes himself like a horse with a yoke thing, and he's crawling through the snow, and he's chopping down trees, and he's climbing mountains, and he's a beast in those. Holy crap, I loved it. And I've known a lot of people that say that that's one of their favorite training sequences from the Rocky movies.
Yeah, it's like a contrast thing. It's Rocky he doesn't have much in terms of training equipment at all. He's going old school, get old fashioned, running around in nature. Where maybe it's symbolic because he's almost fighting a force of nature, right?
Yes.
But Drago has top of the line equipment, and they didn't in the director's cut. They kind of removed that bit where it hints that Drago is being doped. Because you see them inject him with stuff a lot more, I guess, in the original version.
Yeah. Yeah, they did keep one in where you did see him getting pumped with something.
Yeah.
For sure. Definitely steroids, perhaps.
Vaccinated, maybe.
Oh, there we go. Well, goodbye. My channel's now going to be taken down. Sentinel. Oh, Jinx Sentinel. That's the greatest training montage of all time, because I just got done saying that there were people that said so. Multiple montages. Remember Team America montage song? Yeah. I was so devastated this time around watching the director's cut when Apollo dies and the funeral scene, because they actually gave us a much longer funeral scene where Duke is able to eulogize Apollo and say what Apollo meant to him and what Apollo meant for the world and all. Oh, I mean, it was just brutal. And I really don't know why they didn't put that in the original cut. That should have been in there. Because I think that you really understood what Apollo meant, not just to Rocky, but of course to the other people in his life. Oh. Okay, Keck. Well, I like 4, obviously. 5, yes, maybe a dud, but you need to see Rocky Balboa. That is a very, very good movie. You can skip 5 and watch Rocky Balboa and go right into Creed, and I think they're fantastic. He was based on Muhammad Ali, I think, Creed. Yes, he certainly had a lot of his characteristics, didn't he? And the way he would talk and the way he would posture and speak in these little rhymes. Yes, that was definitely so good. The actual fight, I thought it was funny. Am I wrong, Steve, to think it was funny that when Rocky had to like jump up sometimes because
Yeah, because he's huge.
Yeah, because he was so tall and Rocky was so small. I mean, it was awesome though, because again, he became a beast. I mean, his back muscles and all that, you saw him working them. That I mean, it's like he just jumps up, and we were like, "Damn, he's like flying through the air like a flying squirrel." Also, I think they added some things with Drago in that fight.
A little bit, yeah. And they also added to the fight itself, because in this version, especially in the last round, Rocky beats the living shit out of Drago.
Okay.
While in the original, he kind of he keeps punching him, and Drago falls down basically. This one, he beats the shit out of him.
Yes. And my father had a criticism at the time of Rocky 4. He's like, Rocky beat him too easily. It's just, and that would go along with what you're saying, because in this you could really tell, no, it was pretty intense. And
Yeah. Keck 44. Yes, there's a movie called Rocky Balboa. It's the 6th one. It is, in my opinion, about as good as the first one.
Yes, you watch it. You will love it. I'm just telling you right now.
Yep, watch it after the stream. I guarantee you're gonna like it.
Yes. Also, very sad moments in there. Not to give any spoilers away. I don't know. Is it because I'm old? Because I'm older, rather. I'm not 12 years old anymore. Or how old was I when it came out? It was 85. Okay, I wasn't that old. I was like 10 or something. But I bawled my eyes out rewatching this and watching that director's cut. I just felt so much for these characters. And maybe it is because I had gotten done watching Rocky Balboa and Creed 1 and 2. So, and I was also very moved at some of the flashbacks they had of Mickey in them. They added, I think, some flashbacks from some of the movies, especially from Rocky 3. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shane Nolan says, yes, Rocky Balboa, he fights an exhibition fight like the first movie. Rocky Balboa, yeah. Oh, I agree. Jack of all casuals, Rocky Balboa is a true 5th movie in the franchise. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw Stallone ranking the Rocky movies on some kind of talk show, and when he got the 5, he gave it a 1 out of 10.
Wow.
And said, don't know what we were thinking.
Yeah.
Which is fine, you know.
Yeah.
You know what? It's okay to make a shit movie now and again too.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes an idea seems good in your head, then it just turns out it just wasn't.
Yeah, it just didn't work, or wrong place, wrong time.
At least he didn't attack the fans.
No, exactly. And he admits it was a shit movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though it wasn't the big failure that sometimes it's made out to be. I did double check, and it did not flop. It did not make a lot of money when you factor in how much money the other movies made. I think the profit was marginal. They just about made their money back. But it wasn't like a horrendous flop. It just, as Steve said, it just didn't work. I'd be very curious. Maybe I'll rewatch it. Sentinel says, truth, no one is perfect. 1 and 2 are classics. I lost all interest in as they went on. Oh, well, fair enough. Shane Nolan, I believe his son in that movie was his real life son. Sadly, he passed away.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
Well, that's sad.
Yeah, it was 10 years ago. Maybe he passed away. Sage Stallone, I believe his name was.
Oh, well, there we are. That's sad. If his son passed away, you said 10 years ago, well, that maybe could be a little bit of his inspiration and his heart that he put into the Creed movies, because that a lot of father and son stuff in both of those.
Yeah, Jack of all casual says when you get average, when you get 10 out of 10s, anything below that is a flop to some. Yes, it's weird. I don't consider a 5 out of 10 to be a bad movie. You know, it's mediocre. It's so okay.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of people go, yeah, if it's not near 10, it means you don't like it. No, it doesn't. Some of my favorite movies are 5 out of 10s.
Yeah,
because they're just nostalgia or whatever, cheesy.
Yeah.
But objectively, I wouldn't give them a 10 out of 10 just because I really like them. They have to, some of the funniest movies are really bad written, right?
Yes. And there's some really bad movies that I still watch all the time. The patriotic aspect of this movie, it does make me proud to be an American. It really does. And at the end, when he wins and they come and put the American flag on Rocky, and I'm like, freedom! Because we were in the midst of the Cold War, and they kept apart. Oh, sorry.
That was her fucked up cat.
Oh, wait.
Hopefully, she's using a sledgehammer. That's why she muted herself.
No, I was muting. I was taking her off the desk or whatever, and she was objecting very, very loudly. But I apologize for that. But the Polly has a line when they're talking kind of trash to each other, and that stupid Soviet guy is like frothing at the mouth, going, we're Soviets, we're blah blah blah, and our people, we respect our people. And then Polly starts yelling at him. It's like, yeah, you respect him so much, you put him behind a wall and shoot him, and all this. And that was, of course, a big thing because they did literally do that back then.
Yeah, and you can tell that Rocky Four, when it came out, was a little bit of a anti-Soviet Soviet propaganda movie too, because the Cold War was raging,
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. And and
it's fun and all, but you can tell Stallone and the United States weren't too fond of the Russians back then. But there is that little message at the end about coming together, right?
yeah. And they changed something in the movie that I thought made sense in the director's cut, because in the original version the Soviet dudes like start to clap for Rocky after he makes that little speech, but in this version they don't, they just walk out. That I thought was far more realistic.
Yeah.
And
And it's the Russians starting to clap for Rocky, I think um actually does make sense, because Rocky is the underdog, and if the underdog starts to win,
mhm,
people will cheer for that, which is why most stories like that, and that people have grown to love over time, is about the underdog winning. You have Frodo Baggins, definitely
mhm,
an underdog. You have Luke Skywalker,
mhm.
and in other cases, even though the protagonist is very competent, he's still an underdog given the sheer amounts of enemies he's facing, which makes Rambo a little bit of an underdog too, right? Because he's facing an army, he kills them, but
Yeah.
still, the
And
odds aren't in his favor. Same with Indiana Jones.
yeah, precisely. The only aspect of it that worried me, knowing the way that it was in the Soviet Union and behind the Iron Curtain, is all the people that cheered for Rocky would be taken on a certain bus with a certain destination.
Yeah, they were yelling, "Let's go, Brandon!" Um,
Exactly.
I would argue that Rocky One is probably the biggest underdog story that has been uh, on the screen.
Yeah, of all
It's the
time.
ultimate underdog story. He just wants to not get knocked out. That's actually his goal.
Hmm.
He wants to be remain standing for all through all the rounds.
Yeah, he didn't even want to win. He just wanted to go the distance.
Yeah,
Also, Rocky, especially the first two, Italian American pride. He had that Italian, the neighborhood of all with the Italian influences. He had, the Italian priest who didn't speak English, who he went to get, or he did speak English, but rather, and he went to get a special blessing from him, so he didn't get quote unquote beat up too bad. Philadelphia, his love for Rocky's love for Philadelphia,
did
definitely.
you watch? It was one of the Eddie Murphy stand-up shows. I think it was Raw,
Hmm.
where he talks about how he's talking about the Rocky movies a little bit,
Hmm.
and how when the Rocky movies came out and people went in and watched them, and Italian guys would come out of the cinema, go, "Yeah, go Rocky," and
Yeah.
then they would pick a fight with a big black guy
If
because
I know
they thought,
racist.
yeah, and they got beaten the shit out of.
Yes. I know. And unfortunately, that's true in many
It was
ways.
true.
I know. Oh, well, speaking of true, Sentinel, at least it's not a catastrophe. No, it went okay. Mirau, yes, she's right now. Well, she's left the room. She is now been barricaded and banished. But yeah, Rocky, it definitely had lots of Cold War influence stuff around this period. And Sentinel, if you wouldn't mind helping me out here, I would definitely appreciate it. Or if any other mods, definitely appreciate it. But I gotta say that Rocky 4 has aged better for me than I might have expected. If you'd have asked me maybe when I was in my 20s and 30s, I wouldn't have wanted to rewatch it or anything like that. But I feel like maybe the changes in my life, because, I'm no longer in my 30s, I'm in my 40s like a lot of us are. And just seeing the way the world's changed. Yeah, we really did have hope when the Soviet Union fell and just how beautiful that was. And when the wall came down and
And and
fine.
now you're about to be living in it.
I That's exactly what I was going to say, is that we've created, I wouldn't say the Soviet Union so much as we've created East Germany, uh, very similar to what you would see in those satellite countries. Except this time we're the ones building the wall and the machine guns that are going to keep us in. And that's depressing as F, actually, but true. J.R.R. Tolkien said that history was one long defeat. And I agree.
Yeah,
Who knows, though? Who knows? When you got Sylvester Stallone, he's still with us. Maybe he'll save us all again one day. Yes, remember that while the wall flying. Yes. Unbelievable. Everyone that I knew from Germany was telling me the wall's never going to come down. It's never going to come down. We would have exchange students come over and stay with us, and I would go over to Germany. It's not going to happen. And even just a few months before it happened, I was told, nah, it's not going to happen. And it did. And part of it did happen because the people demanded it. They said, let us out. We want to go out. And they overwhelmed them. They didn't know what to do. And they had to let the people out. The people decided they were not afraid anymore. And oh my gosh. I'm getting serious here, but it is a Soviet. It is a Soviet theme that we're living in right now. And with Christmas and things coming up on Christmas, maybe look to what does bring you hope. We have three different movies. The first one, Die Hard, which was a man redeeming himself in his marriage and his family. We had Lethal Weapon, where the main character, well, decides life is worth living, Mel Gibson. Uh, and we have this where Rocky says, we can change, and hopefully for the better. You know, Jack of all casuals, history always repeats itself. Keck44, how do the bots know when I'm looking away from the chat? Oh, thank you, Stieg. Talent on loan from God. Shane Nolan, he is making a new Expendables and Expendables TV show. Is he?
yeah. There's the Expendables 4. I think Stallone doesn't have too much to do in it. The movie is centered on Jason Statham's character, who's called Lee Christmas, and it's called The Expendables: A Christmas Story.
Mm-hmm.
So good pun. But the Expendables TV show, though, I'm not. I think it's going to be shit.
Oh, okay. Let me see. I'm gonna just blocking. Uh, what a
Oh,
neat.
Shane Nolan says something similar happened in Serbia with the people
Oh
after
fuck.
Kosovo. I had a friend who was down there as part of the relief forces. The Serbians were not doing nice things. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
The My friend is still suffering emotional damage from it.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Uh,
dark.
think of the worst thing you can ever see, and then up it by 100.
Yeah. 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 My grandfather, he would never talk about World War II. He only said a few things in the last year of his life. He had had a stroke, and he would start to talk a little bit about it, tell us a little bit about what it was like when he went to uh, it was Dachau, where he was just there when the Americans liberated it. But for the most part, his entire life, he's like, I won't talk about it. The things that people see and the things that people do, horrific things. Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, on that very cheery note, but there is hope. What would you give Rocky for, Steve?
An 8 out of 10.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a little bit of a higher. I'm going to give the director's cut rather a bit of a higher score. I'm going to make it more like an 8.5 because I can't say it was a perfect movie. There were aspects of it that was like really, um, but overall, the emotional impact it had on me, especially on the rewatch, and thematically, I guess I just really saw how perfectly it really truly did fit in with what Rocky was all about. Oh, shoot, Nolan, are you? I'm assuming you're talking about Dachau. Yeah, yeah. I've been to several concentration camps. It's not cool. Yeah, you can feel what happened. Whew. It's like evil can leave an imprint on areas. I do believe that, and whether it's literal or just by knowing it was there. But yes,
It's like energy
yes,
residue,
yeah, yes,
like a smell almost,
exactly. And
like
I
a
wonder,
mind smell.
yeah, and we might get to a point in science where we might actually be able to measure that. You know, that maybe there's some sort of electrical energy, like you said, some sort of energy. But
Oh, energy always changes form. When your body
mhm,
dies, the energy goes somewhere. It never goes away.
yeah,
So could be something to it.
yep. I mean, I definitely have a faith answer for some of it. You know, basically, I do believe that there is evil in the world, and I'm trying to take care of this permanently. Let's see.
No, using a new account each time. I think. I don't know.
All right. Well, I will do the best that I can. Maybe I'll try it on my phone. And thank you. Oh, but you guys are my heroes. Did you ever know that? Yeah, it's gonna turn into a song. You're my hero. I'm seeing all my mods taking taking action here. Thank you very much. I know how much Stieg adores when people break into song, so you won't be hearing any more of that. Unless one day I do some sort of karaoke night. I don't know how people do it without getting their channels struck.
Because they sing really badly.
Oh god. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Y'all are often. Yes, beaches, beaches. Yeah, my tessitura is much higher than that. So but I'm not entirely sure you all want to hear me breaking out into Puccini right now. Well, There we are. That is a triple review. That is Christmas movies. We will be returning. We will be returning, and hopefully Maury will be able to join us. Since I chose these movies, and they are very masculine. She really likes her traditional Christmas movies, so I'm giving her some leeway in choosing the ones that she wants to do. Right now, it's not giving anything away. They're basically tearing down their entire house and rebuilding it. And they were literally, there is no place for them to stream right this afternoon. So, so hopefully they'll have that done by Christmas, and we'll have Maury and Eddie back, and maybe some other guests. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Shane. We always do appreciate it. And of course, thank you to Stieg for being my guest with the most, not the my guest host with the most. They're making it rhyme. Thank you everyone that's been in the chat. Thank you to my magnificent mods. I do appreciate you, and I'm going to see what I can do about this situation. Does it mean I've made it if I've got psychos coming in and trying to mess with me? I don't know.
It's not psychos. It's children, retarded children. So think of it as a charity.
Wow. Except I have worked with special children, and they're not this dumb. That's all I gotta say.
They're special, and then they're special.
Exactly.
You know? I mean,
exactly.
some people's family tree is a circle.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm going to wrap up this party. Please stay tuned to Miss Martin Muses this coming week. We've got some good stuff tomorrow. We're going to be talking crochet with the Geeky Crochet. We're going to be showing off some of our projects. Both she and I are avid crocheters. Lots of yarn, lots of projects. Thursday night, I'm going to have my Nerdy Home and Biggles back for season 1 of Once Upon a Time discussion at 7 p.m. Central. And then I'm returning on Saturday with the Two Towers with Stieg and Rennie and hopefully some of our other guests. We did have to postpone our Wheel of Time stream due to unforeseen circumstances, but we will be we rescheduled for next Monday. Stieg, is there anywhere else we can find you?
Nah, usually on OG Star Wars on Thursdays. I'm not sure if she's doing it this Thursday.
Oh.
I think maybe she was doing something else. I don't know. And then on Mara's channel on Friday for the Cringe Factory. Which I thought was called the Cringe Factor for 6 months. But apparently it's Cringe Factory. Because there's apparently an assembly line on the thumbnail, which I've never noticed.
And you also apparently named it.
Yeah. And I forgot.
You forget the good you've done. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. Have a great day. And be certain if you are going to Rocky 4, bring a box of tissues.